Okay, so this is my testimony. I'll probably add things later because it was a lot. I grew up in the church, you know, and I remember once when I was learning, I must have been in primary school. I mean, I was very, very little. And I had a thing about cleaning my room and picking up my toys and things. And it was such a struggle for me. I mean, it was like, just kicking and screaming. I remember my mom, I was this good kid. I was a very good kid. And I remember never understanding why people didn't think like me. And I felt very alone. And I remember in Sabbath school learning about Jesus, and I remember a moment where I realized, that I was like Jesus, and nobody understood Jesus either. But that it made me not feel alone. That Jesus understood me. Nobody else did, but Jesus did. And I still hold that in my heart, even though I'm not a good person anymore. But I remember that. And I miss that person that I was. And you get in your teen years and you just want to be popular. And I remember a point of wondering, what it is that the world has that I don't, that makes me unacceptable and stupid and everybody else smart. And, you go looking for it. You go looking for acceptance. You start in relationships and you start getting bitter. Because, basically the mentality seems to be, on average, I'll do it to you before you do it to me, or you're the idiot and you deserved it because you were dumb enough to let me do it. You start to get bitter. I know I always had that feeling, but you always get, what is it that makes me dumb and everybody else smart? I may be behind a few years in my schooling, but that doesn't mean that I'm any less of a person. That I don't think, now looking back on it, I don't think it had anything to do with being slow. I think it had more to do with, it's okay. You're real sweet. But, in a world full of lions, sweet gets you bit. I got real bitter and angry, and you move away from the church and you start looking for acceptance elsewhere. You look at acceptance anywhere. And you get into your 20s, and I think I was in my early 20s, and I was filling out an application. And it finally dawned on me, because they kept asking me if I was okay. Because it used to take me a little bit longer to fill out an application than everybody else. Finally I was like, okay. So everybody else's half an hour takes me 3. So I went to a psychiatrist who diagnosed me with ADD and gave me pills. So, okay, the pills. it opened up my brain where I could think, like on all 8 cylinders, as far as I could assess everything that was going on. I could think very clearly, and but it also made me see the world in a different light. I could actually see what the world had that I didn't. Let me just tell you right now, I didn't want to know, and I don't want it. I miss my innocence, and I wish that I didn't know what everybody else knew, because what you know is that the world is a very terrible place, and nobody thinks right. And what they saw as stupid in me was actually God's little cocoon keeping me happy and innocent and pure. God says he'll make fools out of the wise. And I tell you what, I would do it all over again, very different. So you get jobs, and yeah, I ended up becoming a medical assistant. I was top of my class. I was 4.0, with 3.5 to 4.0 GPA average through the whole thing. I graduated that way. They found the top of the class got help in finding a job. Unfortunately, they were so flooded, at that time at least, with MAs that there was no place to get a job. And so 9 months later, I'm working as a hostess at a restaurant, and I get a call. 9 months later, I get a call from the one lady that helps everybody that goes through that school get a job. And she calls me out of nowhere and says, I think I have a job for you, but a job interview, but it's not as an MA. You'd have to go back to school, but they'll pay you. And, they'll pay you, it was something just under $15 an hour to go to school, and they will train you. So, well, duh, so I did that. I also did very, very well there. I think all of us were on the same level. We were all 3.5 to 4.0s. But turns out I was still a good person in there. I was still me somewhere in there, because, I don't like hurting people. I like taking care of people. That's always been my thing. I'm a nurturer, not a herder. And so ending up in the dialysis field, everything is so extreme. And I was in a very small facility. It's a big corporation, but that particular town had a very small facility. And I don't know. I feel like either my boss was protecting her job, or she had something she needed to prove or something, but we never had help. So unless you were, people literally go to the bathroom, throw up, and come back, because there was only 3 of you, and like one person off that day. So if anybody got sick, somebody had to come in on their day off to fill in for you, and we're all so exhausted anyway. I worked on average between 10 and 13 hours a day. And it was hard, because my fear was, you make one single mathematical mistake and you kill somebody. And even when you don't, sometimes their heart just stops. Their heart just slows down. Their blood pressure just drops, and they pass out, and they're dying. And the chairs are made to flip the feet way over the head and the head to the floor. It happened a lot. One time, 3 people went out at once, and that's so terrifying. Basically, a long story short, my nerves were shot. And I had some trouble at home, and between the two, I lost my mind. I remember I just started crying at work one day, and I grabbed all the stuff out of my locker. I thought, I cannot do another day of this. I cannot start another day. And I grabbed all my stuff and I ran, and I kept running because this had happened once before. Recently prior to that, and they came and got me. They hunted me down outside. So this time I ran, and I didn't stop running, and I hid behind Burger King dumpsters and everything, calling my boyfriend to come get me because he had the car that day. And that was the beginning of the end. I had a nervous breakdown. You start going in and out of hospitals. Well, I don't know where to go from here. I guess later. It was a bit later, but that was the beginning of this crack in the wall. And it's a very long story of in and out of hospitals, and I had a friend when I was working at this one grocery store prior to going back to school that this boy really hurt me, and I couldn't comprehend. I couldn't even wrap my brain around why somebody would do that. Why somebody would violate not only the relationship, but in your personal space, on your things. Couldn't comprehend that kind of violation, why anybody would do that. It was very violent to my heart. I couldn't deal with it. I ended up in a hospital. Once or twice, and then I got over it. Went back to work. Ended up going to school. It was that same application that I was filling out to go to that caused me to go see a doctor. It was that store. And anyway, a friend of mine decided that because I had stopped eating, and I didn't know that I had stopped eating, but I would remember that I was looking into a pair of size 00 pants because zero pants, because the ones that I had on were starting to drape around my hips. Everybody thinks that weight loss is cool, so it didn't really faze me. It was just like, okay, I guess this is good. No big deal. But she gave me a pill one day, and she said, "Here, just take this because it'll make you feel better, so you can continue to, working with less stress." Well, it turned out to be an opioid pill. You're right. You could have told me my dog died. It wouldn't have been so bad. I would have been fine with that. It would have been very sad, but, it wouldn't have been devastating. And, it helped me through, but it also caused a problem. So then I had an opioid addiction. I had a pain pill addiction. And that was very violent. It was very out of control. I guess not as extreme as it can. I wasn't stealing things or anything to get them. Unfortunately, the devil can really put people into your life that can take care of that little problem for you of finding it. So then I remember getting to a point where even on the pills, I was getting angry. I just had these violent outbreaks where I was just, you're almost out of control. You're just so mad and you don't know why. But, there's that little God thing going where it's telling you, this is the pills. And at this point in my life, it's a little blurry how that stopped. But I'm telling you now, it was God. Only God can break that. It doesn't matter how much you try. You can't break something like that. Your brain, is, our sinful natures and the way we manipulate the beautiful thing that God gave us. The pleasure center of your brain is meant for heavenly things. It's meant for appreciating beautiful blue skies, finding joy, in beautiful blue skies and white billowy clouds and trees that are together in lavenders and whites and, and the flowers. And it's meant for things to stimulate it like that and not by drug-induced stimulations that are very extreme and intense. And it's a total perversion of our nature. And we tend to gravitate towards it. And it's a hard pull that you can't just necessarily let go of when you choose. And I don't remember anymore how I quit, but I'm telling you now, it was God. Then the weed thing, God saved me from that like 3 times. At least. It's another one of those things that, it numbs the pain for the time, but it's perverting how you're made, and it's perverting the joy factor that your brain has, and it does something to you. It does something to the way you think, what you choose to do for fun, how you enjoy things. It's one of those little small perversions that changes your thinking over time. Of what's okay and what's not. What's okay to feel good. What feels good. What is feel good. What is happiness. What's real happiness. What's the real extremes of joy, and whether or not that's, listening to birds sing outside or, a meth fix. It gets very twisted and you lose sight of yourself very quick. I went through the pills, and I remember I had a friend who, she didn't drink, so she didn't but she liked to do the club dancing, so we used to get off work, her other friend and I, and we would go to bed, get up at like 1 o'clock or 1:30, get dressed, and go clubbing with her. We had normal jobs at that point, where, I think we were working like a 2 to 10. And so you get a few hours sleep, go party with your friend, and then, or nothing. We sat there, she danced, because none of us knew how to dance to techno. Or the rave music, whatever. So, did a little bit of that, but it was kind of just like, whatever, we're here to support our friend because she doesn't want to go party alone. But she had gone through a divorce, and it was really, really bad, and she went back to her old lifestyle of meth. And I remember just constant trips to the bathroom, and eventually it was just like, I can't keep doing this. I'm tired, and we have to keep doing this. I'm falling asleep in the seats, and we do this all the time. And it's just like, give me some of that. I had no intention of it becoming anything. But crystal meth is a one-time deal. Once your brain knows that it can do that, it's over. It's just over. And it'll be the ruin of your life unless God fixes it. I did very awful things to my mother. And at that point, somehow I had traded that for the Ritalin that I had been taking, because through methamphetamines, I noticed that the generic on my bottle was methylphenidate. So, I don't know, through the grapevine of unfortunately messed up people like myself, you find out that it is literally a medical grade, pure form of synthetic speed. It's the same thing. It's methamphetamines. So great, let's just break that and snort that. Let's just crush it up and snort that. I was snorting 4 a day. Which is 20 milligrams a pop. That is a lot. I should be dead. Moving to Colorado, and which is my birth town, birth state, and we moved there, and I continued to have some mental breakdowns and things, and of course, I already had some problems. I had already had the snap a couple of years prior or so, and I had been in a hospital or two. And I remember what I did. I remember the awful things. Because I tried to give Mom my pills and say, look, only let me have the 4 a day I'm supposed to have. Because normally the legally prescribed is 3, but the limit. But there was this doctor when we got there that said, no, sometimes people need more, and he did 4. He had no problem with that. So I was happy, but I wasn't. Anyway, so she'd lock it up and everything, and I tell you the things that you say and at the time you mean them. At the time you have to have that, and if she will just give you just one more. I screwed up this morning and I have none left. Can I have just one more? The things that you do, the things that you say, to get what you need. The incessant talking, you don't even know you're being manipulative. You do, but you don't mean it like that. Sometimes God brings us around in really weird ways, and sometimes we need just a 2x4. And, God's kind of 2x4 is a big, big 2x4. And it resonates for a long time. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. I remember one day, this kind of teenage voice decided it was going to start talking to me in my own head. And no, it wasn't like my own voice being a separate entity. This was a voice entirely of its own personality, entirely of its own entity, its own decisions. It's very awful, awful creature. This teenage boy voice, not even say, like 13-ish, decided it was going to start telling me, "Go to sleep, stupid," so I can mess with your head some more. Things like that. I remember at one point, the voice kept telling me, "I'm the devil, stupid. I'm the devil, stupid." And things like this. And I just kept thinking, I have lost my mind. I finally did it. I screwed up my brain. I said, "No, I'm the devil, stupid. Wake up." I remember I started to walk down the hall at one point, and some Bible verses started to come to my mind out of nowhere, and it stopped me dead in my tracks. Oh, crap. This is really the devil. I won't glorify. The devil was talking about the things he does to your head. But let me tell you about what Jesus did. So, I'm in and out of hospitals more often. Hospitals are a place you don't want to go. Let me just say, unless you have to. It's worth it if it saves your life. But they also don't care about you in there. You are not a person. You are a mess. And they don't like you. You are a burden on society and a burden on them. But I also needed it. There's always something in those hospitals where, always, the people may not care. Typically, there was one that I went to that wasn't like that. All the rest were, but let me tell you, there's more angels in there than demons. You may be struggling a lot with your own head. Yours are not. But there's a peace there. There's a peace there. And I can't explain it because it doesn't come from the place itself. The only thing that has ever sounded right is, it's fuller than, there's a peace there that shouldn't be there that tells me there's more angels than demons there. And so if you need to go to save your life or somebody else's, you just go. You just deal with it. You'll find a peace there. God will not leave you alone. God will not leave you alone. So I'm in and out of these hospitals, and the last time I went to a hospital, my mom, she just stopped eating. Or she walked in like some thug, or, some kind of thug-like outfit. My mom is a good Christian lady, but she had lost so much weight, her pants were hanging around her waist. I mean, they were hanging off her hips. I said, "Mom, you gotta eat something. Why aren't you eating?" And she's like, "Well, she didn't really have anything to say. She couldn't really say anything." And she finally said, "How can I eat when you're in here?" And she couldn't get me out, because once you're in there, you're in their hands, and legally they don't have to let you go until they want to. And most of those psychiatrists are not fantastic people. They've seen a few too many of you. I remember when my mom went home, I went straight to my room and I got on my knees. Out of nowhere, I just got on my knees. And I said, Lord, if you'll get me out of here and make me productive. I don't need to be great, but if you will get me out of here and keep me out of here, I'll never come back, and there'll be a help to Mom and not a hindrance. I'd never been back to a hospital. I've never needed to be back at a hospital. It was over. It was a long road. I went prior to that, and the last time I was in there, I had actually called them. I called them and I said, I need a reassessment. I need to come in and be reassessed. The voices won't leave me alone. And they're telling me something about the meth and the Ritalin I was doing. And that basically they were just going to use that against me for the rest of my life. And I remember out of nowhere, I got so mad. And I said, oh, no, you're not. And I called him up and I said, the voices won't leave me alone. And I snort my Ritalin. I need to be reassessed. I mean, there's a long pause on the phone. And she says, you realize that if you tell me this, they will take away your Ritalin forever. You will never be able to legally have it back. And I told her, I'm counting on it. Okay, come in. And it's been a struggle sometimes, but at the same time, it's just like you're free of it. It's over. You can't have it anymore. And it's a good thing. I can't unlearn the things that I learned when I started taking it. I can't shut that door. Your brain learns new neural pathways and learns new things, perceives things in a new way. And it's, I was hoping God would fix that or it would just go away when the Ritalin did, but it doesn't. I mean, it does a little bit, but it's more along the lines of your learning capabilities. It still takes me, you have to tell me 25 times to everybody else's once or twice. But once I got it, I'm your grade A employee. I will never intentionally let you down. Not ever. My last job, we just moved to the other side of Tennessee, so it's a 3-hour drive, so I couldn't keep my job, and they didn't have anywhere to transfer in this area, so I had to put in my 2 weeks notice. But I tell you what, my one boss jokingly said, I have a garage, or I have a basement you can rent, but I went back there to clean the house. I hadn't seen them in like a month, or maybe 2-3 weeks, and one of my bosses, I told him, I said, really, Maine, a mustache? Because he had his